Every hammer you have ever held was made by another hammer. The steel head was forged, struck, by a machine that swings a hammer. That machine was built with hammers. Those hammers were shaped by older hammers. So follow the chain backwards, past the factories, past the forges, past the bronze, past the fire. Eventually you hit something that should not exist. A hammer that no hammer made. And it isn't in a museum. It's lying in the dirt beside a lake in northern Kenya. It is older than our species. It is older than our entire genus. And whatever made it was not human. The site is called Lomekwi 3. The stones there are 3.3 million years old. That's roughly 700,000 years before the first creature we'd call Homo anything. Some of the cores weigh 15 kilograms. You don't hold those. You heave them. Some archaeologists still argue the whole site is a fluke, that nature cracked those rocks by accident. Remember that word, accident. Because in about a minute, a troop of monkeys in Brazil is going to make it very uncomfortable. But first, the paradox nobody escapes. To chip an edge onto stone, you have to strike it with another stone, a hammerstone. So where did that one come from? You cannot knap stone without a hammer. You cannot get a hammer without knapping stone. The chain eats itself, and the way out is stranger than anybody building anything. In 2016, researchers filmed wild capuchin monkeys in Serra da Capivara, Brazil. The monkeys were smashing quartzite cobbles together, not to cut anything. They were licking the dust. That is the entire behavior. But the smashing threw off flakes, sharp, curved flakes. Flakes carrying every feature an archaeologist uses to identify a deliberate human tool. Dropped into a tray of real artifacts, you could not reliably pick them out. Sit with that for a second. For a century, we assumed a sharp flake proved a mind. It doesn't. It proves a collision. And chimpanzees go further. In the Thai forest, they crack nuts with stone hammers on stone anvils. Archaeologists dug up a chimpanzee nut-cracking site in Côte d'Ivoire and dated it to about 4,300 years old. Chimpanzees have a stone age. They just never left it. So here is your answer. Nobody made the first hammer. It was found. A rock already the right weight, already the right shape, carved by a river or a volcano a million years before anyone arrived. Somebody picked it up. The object required no manufacture at all. The only thing that had to be created was the idea that the rock was for something, which sounds like the end of the story. It isn't. Because a rock in your hand is still a rock. What turns it into a tool is something you cannot see, cannot feel, and cannot control. It happens inside the stone. Strike the right stone near an edge, at slightly under 90 degrees, and you don't crush it. You detonate a cone of force through it. Physicists call it a Hertzian cone. The shock wave travels through the rock and peels a flake off the far side in one clean curved sheet. Same fracture as a bullet hole in glass. And this is the part that should unsettle you. The knapper did not carve that edge. The knapper released it. The edge was already inside the stone. Physics did the sharpening, which is why the result is so absurd. A fresh obsidian flake can taper to an edge a few nanometers wide. Sharper than a surgical scalpel. Sharper than anything an animal has ever grown. But every bit of it depends on one ingredient. And most of the planet has the wrong rock. You need stone with no grain, flint, chert, obsidian, fine quartzite. Rock that fractures like glass instead of splitting along seams. Hit granite and you get gravel. Hit sandstone and you get sand. And here's the detail that gives me chills. At the oldest tool-making sites, hominins were carrying stone more than 10 kilometers from its source. 10 kilometers, hauling a heavy, useless lump across a landscape full of things that eat you. Not because of what it was, because of what it was going to become. That is a mind with a future inside it. And still, there is no handle. The next breakthrough wasn't stone at all. It was soft, and it came out of an animal's skull. Boxgrove, southern England, around 500,000 years ago. A horse butchery site, and scattered through it. Antler, red deer antler, used as a hammer. Being softer, it grips the edge instead of shattering it. and lifts off long, thin flakes that a stone hammer would smash to pieces. That is the tool that makes the hand axe possible, and the debris at Boxgrove can be refitted, every flake glued back onto its core like a three-dimensional puzzle. When you finish, a hole appears in the middle. That hole is a person. You can see where they knelt. You can tell which hand they favored. You can see the spot where they set the antler down. 500,000 years gone, and there is a gap in the rubble shaped exactly like someone sitting. But a hand axe is still a fist. To put a head on a stick, you need glue. And that glue does not exist in nature. Neanderthals made it anyway. Birch bark tar. Heat birch bark, and it weeps a black resin that sets hard as plastic. But bark burns. So it has to be cooked hot and starved of air in a fire that must never actually touch it. No pottery, no thermometer, just control. We have lumps of the stuff over 200,000 years old with fingerprints still pressed into them. And that is the moment the hammer truly arrives. Head, binding, handle. Because a handle is not a grip. A handle is leverage. A longer arc, more speed at the tip, more force than your arm could ever produce alone. Which brings us to metal. And metal is where the chain almost snaps. To cast a copper hammer, you need copper. To get copper, you have to break it out of a mountain, and you already know what's coming. Great Orme, North Wales. A Bronze Age copper mine, kilometers of tunnels, some so narrow that only children could crawl them. And down there, archaeologists found bone picks and thousands upon thousands of stone hammers. Beach cobbles, found rocks. The same technology as Lomekwi 3 million years later, still doing the job. Stone hammers mined the copper that became the metal hammers that made stone hammers obsolete. The tool dug up its own replacement. So the chain holds all the way down, which leaves exactly one question. Who invented it? Nobody. There is no inventor. The rock was already lying there, 4 billion years old, already the right weight, already the right shape, waiting in the mud for nothing at all. Nothing about the world changed that day. Something about the looking did. We never made the first hammer. We just, one afternoon, recognized one. And it had been there the whole time.